This job, if utilized correctly, could get you in a position where you can actually spend more time on what matters than just the stupid money and shit like that. Who cares? Like, that's why you never see me flex about any of that. I never talk about my cars, my money. I've never made one post about it because I don't care, because I'm playing the game and I realize what the game is. And it's about doing what fulfills you the most. And all that other stuff is just distractions, because nothing's going to make you feel better than being able to set your future up and be able to win with your friends. Use this game as a tool to get to the next level. And if you can look at it like that and realize you're going to get your butt kicked a little bit, it all pays out if you stick with it long enough. And I hope to be living proof of that if you stick with it and you stick and stay, the shit'll pay.
Welcome, everybody, back to the Be Bright podcast. And, it might be a little cliche, but I might be here with the brightest of them all. The man, the myth, the legend, Danny Pessy. What's up, man?
Hello, dude. Round two running it
up.
Dude.
8 years ago? 7 years ago?
7 years. We've had so many people request a secondary podcast over the years. We had to do it.
And usually they say the sequel is not as good as the original, but I got a feeling this
one's, we've grown a little bit on.
We got some stories to tell.
Yeah.
So, well, cool, man. Thanks for being on.
Mm-hmm.
As it goes, if you don't mind, I'm sure most people tuning in know a little bit about yourself, but just give a quick little background. I usually like to start with, everybody looks at you, Pessy, especially in this industry. You're super well known, and it's not out of anything other than like hard work, dedication, because, somebody like me, when I first met you and we met each other, it was like, it wasn't who you were today. So it's been really cool to kind of see that journey, and that's what I was most interested in focusing on. But before we get to that, if you want to give a little bit about your background, if you had any formidable experiences growing up that kind of shaped who you were.
Yeah. So, thanks for that, by the way. I started off in life wanting to be full-fledged performing actor. So my mom was in a show back in the 80s, and I was growing up just being instilled in being acting, all of this. And I remember auditioning for comedy clubs. I auditioned in high school. I was in theater all 4 years. I was actually voted best actor in high school.
Oh, yeah.
And voted most funny. And then voted most likely to be on Saturday Night Live. There was a bunch of stuff on there.
There's still time.
There is. And so, I loved it, and I always knew I was going to be a performer. And so I've had a big personality, and I feel that I knew my long-term vision was to do that. And so that was where I really got my start up, is I was doing theater. I was going in Hollywood. I was performing. I started up the first comedy club at Pasadena City College. We're called Grizzled Chuck, and we ran for 5 years, and we did shows every quarter.
All improv, right?
All improv. Make it up on the spot.
Jeez.
I would audition people. We'd have shows. Like, it was so much fun. And so I feel that training really primed me to be good at sales.
Sure.
Because, I found that going door to door, it's very drudgeonous. It's very hard, challenging. And I was like, this seems like another improv scene every 2 to 3 minutes. And so in my mind, I spun it to be every door that I went and hit could be like a new scene.
Right.
So when I got introduced to the job, I saw that, made the connection, and realized that I was going to use door to door to get me to where I always wanted to be, which is in the spotlight and being an entertainer and educator. And I feel like I've done a good job paying my dues and spent the time on the streetlights before now I'm in the relative spotlights. I mean, we're in our own little tiny bubble, so very micro, but I mean, I feel like I've done a good job at getting my soul needs met.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, that's awesome.
So that was like the big start of it. Yeah.
And I think, obviously, like I said, we worked together, but how did you get into door to door? Like, what got you to? So
I was in high school. My buddy who graduated a year before came back and said, hey, this rich guy from Utah wants to buy us dinner and talk about his business. At this point, I had no money. I'm like, hell yeah, he's going to free meal. Let's do it. So he sits down with all 6 of us and tells us about the job and talks about security, and you can make a bunch of money in a short amount of time.
Right.
And then literally all 6 of us minus 1 said, all right, let's do it. And so we all got signed up in 2007 or 8. Yeah, 2008. Late 2008, we got signed up to sell, and then it was for the summer of 2009 at Platinum Protection.
Yep. First summer too.
Yeah, and then we went up to Washington, and we all lived in 8, 9, or 10 of us in a two or three bedroom apartment, and yeah, we were selling. It was fun, and all of us went out, and dude, it was nuts. It was a good beginning to the career.
Yeah, and I think what's so interesting about the door-to-door industry is because if you're not a part of it, there's definitely like a different view of it, of like low class, can't get any other kind of job, like the worst thing in the world probably that anybody could do.
Yeah.
Maybe other than sell cars, I don't know.
Yeah.
No, it's a similar thing. But
those guys, don't get me started on that. Cool.
But what's crazy, and this is just kind of bringing so much nostalgia back to my first summer, is like there's nothing quite like your introductory experience into door-to-door, just because it's like unknown, it's scary, you're like, you like hear the potential, and it's like, I never felt like the highest of highs or the lowest of lows of like, hey, this was kind of speaking to me. It's like, man, this is the opportunity I've been like to reach my potential. But then when I got into it, it wasn't overnight, obviously. And it was like I had some real breakdown experiences, like crying in a neighborhood and like wanting to quit. As you kind of think back to your first summer, or even that initial experience, is there an experience comes to mind where you had like a turning point of like, hey, I'm thinking about quitting, but you stuck with it?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I was at a point where my best friend was out there with me, and he sits down and we go to dinner during turf. Big fine. Don't do it. But
chili dog in the cold.
Yeah, we went to dinner, and he sat down with me at dinner. He's like, Pess, I got to tell you something. I talked to my girlfriend. We want to go home and spend summer together. We just graduated high school. We want to spend some time. She's got this girl for you. You guys should come back and like, we can go do this next summer. Like, let's go have fun this summer.
Right.
And he told me that, and something in my stomach gave me like a pit. I didn't feel good about it. And we had dinner, and then he walked back to his area. I walked back to mine. I get texted to get picked up at a Wendy's. And as I'm walking to the Wendy's, it's down a hill. I'm at the top of the hill. It's in Seattle. It just starts pouring rain. And I just get dumped on rain as I'm walking down this hill. I'm like, oh God, this is a sign.
Right.
So I'm waiting for him. It's at like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. And because he's knocking late, he was in deals. And I am walking into the Wendy's, soaking wet. I go into the bathroom and I start drying off my clothes in the dryer. And I get to my underwear. My underwear's soaked. I put my foot on the door to like make sure no one walks in. So as I'm sitting there drying off my underwear in the blow dryer, someone's like pounding on the door. I'm like, holy crap, this is just like that one movie, The Pursuit of Happiness.
Right.
Like I'm in there like drying my socks off, and I'm just at that point, I'm like, holy shit, dude, this is so hard. My buddy's telling me to leave. I haven't made any sales. I'm knocking in Lake Washington, which is where all the rich people in Seattle were.
Right.
They threw all the new guys in the hardest turf to see who would last. And then I just started crying. And I called my dad. I'm like, dude, I don't know if I could do this. My dad's a successful entrepreneur. All the Pessys have been very, very good in business. And so for him, he was like, dude, you're already up there. Like, just stick it out, whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, what's the biggest deal? It's 2 to 3 months. Like, just do it.
Right.
And I was like, oh, crap. All right. And he's like, I'll just send you a jacket. I'm like, Dad, send me a jacket. It's wet. I had no money for any of it. I was eating ramen and eggs. And so, hey, send me up a jacket. And I'm like, all right. I remember getting picked up. My eyes were red from crying. And my manager, Jason Strife, I literally can remember this in my mind, turned around in the car because he heard I was like emotional.
Shout out Strife.
And he was looking at me like, oh, crap, is this guy going to quit? Right. He's like, damn, I finally got a rep out. When managers have rep quit, it's really hard on them. Tough. And I could tell that face, he was more shocked because he heard I was going to quit. And I'm like, I'm not quitting. I can do this. And so it was in that bathroom when I talked to my dad where I was like, dude, I'm just going to stick this out. Yeah. Like, you know, I always knew I'd be wealthy financially. And, you know, my family comes from a very good background. Obviously, I always had everything I needed. And I just didn't feel good about quitting on something I committed to.
Sure.
And so that was the real turning point where my best friend was leaving. I had the temptations at home. And I'm like, dude, I don't feel good about leaving. I made the commitment. This is hard. And I didn't give up.
Yeah.
And so it's that was like the point. Soaking wet in a bathroom, drying my stuff off in a Wendy's like a crackhead, where I was like, you know what? I'm going to complete this summer. Sure. I'm going to stick with it. And 2 of the other buddies went with us, left. And yeah, dude, it was I still remember it. And to this day, just how fucking crazy that bathroom was.
Yeah, that's wild. And
that moment.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I didn't know you come from, parents that were entrepreneurs, and I did as well. And there is kind of something in that it was like, I remember in my low times, I think one thing to being successful as an entrepreneur is just literally not quitting. Even in solar right now, which we may get into a little bit later, where there is sort of this like you could be successful or even somewhat win by default just by like hanging in there long enough.
Yeah.
Because all the friends that came out with me my first summer, and like I lived in an apartment with 6 dudes, and after a month I was the only one left. And I remember every one of them was like, "Yeah, I'm going to give this a go next summer," and zero ever did.
Yeah, next summer. Yeah.
Yeah, there's always next summer, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, but it's like it just never happens. Like they fall into other places in life, and it's kind of crazy.
Someone else recruits them.
Yeah, or they go do something else because they can't cut it.
Yeah.
And so I know that for me, you look back at your life like what it is now, but maybe how much different would your life have been had you quit?
Dude, I think about that all the time, and I look at my friends that quit when that happened. It's drastically, it's crazy. Because what happened is he got into a habit of quitting when things got difficult, and you never make progress in life when you do that. So he literally has been, at a dead-end job, lives with his parents still, and it's just, bro, the choices you make.
Sure. And what I think I love most about you, just in this space is, we'll get into authentic here in a minute, but I really feel like that's who you are, because it's cool to see what success you've had, because knowing your story and struggle, like you weren't the top rep your first year.
No,
you weren't the top rep your second year. If you don't mind sharing a little bit about that transition, maybe kind of year over year, and what you think took you from like, hey, wanting to quit, hardly making any money, maybe just kind of grinded out your first year, to actually seeing progress and then that compounding over time.
Yeah, so my first year, I was motivated by not quitting in front of my friends.
Sure.
Money was never a motivator for me. Second year, I was incentivized by being the top rep in my office.
Cool.
And so then
you're in Utah, right?
I was in Utah with Strife. Yeah. And so I ended up being the number 2 rep in that office that year. And then third year is I wanted to be the top rep in my region. And then fourth year was top rep in the company and the industry. And so each year I leaned into the competitive side of the industry. And so a lot of reps get motivated by the money side, but money is literally the lowest form of motivation you can have.
Sure.
And so it's like if you can get $1,000 bill and your motivation's gone, then you're weak.
Right.
If you get a nice watch, a nice car, and you just have all of the luxuries given to you, and that's all you wanted it for, that wasn't a good why. So for me, I really leaned into the competitive nature of the job. So that's really what stuck it out. And so many people want to be the top rep. Well, it's like, go be the top rep in your office, then go to the top rep in your region, and then your division, then your company.
Sure.
And so that was the trajectory that I had, which led me to being the top rep in year 4 in the industry. I did 350 accounts that year, and I think it was me and Troy Gokrich. I was number 1 at Pinnacle. He was number 1 at Vivint. And so it was a big freaking year.
Yeah.
And so that year taught me that I could do 300.
Sure.
300 was like the, oh my God type of thing. And so I did 350, and it was sick. And so that built my confidence up. But I couldn't get there without slowly taking the steps. So many reps want to go just be the top dude, and you got to learn how to get it. And as I was growing from being a first, second, third, fourth year rep, I knew my humor would allow me not to be arrogant in people's eyes, so they're more willing to teach me things.
Right.
So I'd use my humor and my personality to get secrets and techniques from people because they didn't think I was a threat.
Right.
And because it's very disarming. Humor is a wonderful ally if you know how to use it, and I'm a master at it. And it's because a lot of the humor stuff I do, it's all strategic, right? So it's like I know what I'm doing. It's a puppet game, right? And so utilizing that to get information that you then apply and use. Like you'd be surprised on when I went and knock, you'd be like, bro, you're not funny at all. Like I am not charismatic. Right. I am a machine when I knock.
Really?
And so it's just extremely plugged in. People are like, bro, who the hell is that? It's like, dude, you turn on a switch.
Right.
Like your head's down, you're going after it. And so when it comes to B2B, you can't do that because you piss people off.
Sure.
And it's disrespectful. You got to have some charisma and like be lifelike. Right. And so with that, with business to business, I would be charismatic. I'd get information, learn to help people, and be very receptive, humble. I was very, very humble. I've always been humble because it's like, no one likes a cocky asshole.
Right.
And I learned that because growing up, I was homecoming king. I was very well known at my school. So I learned my first 2 years in school, I was being a dick, trying to be the fucking cool guy. Right. And then I'm like, wait a second, I can make everybody like me by making everybody laugh.
Right.
So I learned very on how to deal with attention on me because I'm on stage, I'm doing shows.
Sure.
So you learn how to handle that type of attention. And so when you start getting better, you learn how to do it where you don't trigger people. It's the same thing when you go to the door. It's like, hey, I'm selling solar. They're going to tell you to fuck off. And it's like the same thing as this, like in life, when you teach somebody or you hit a stranger with a certain attitude, they're going to tell you to F off too.
Yeah.
But no one's going to be intimidated if you're making them laugh, because I love making people laugh.
Sure.
Like it's like I enjoy giving them energy and making people happy. And that's like my strong suit. So that's why I always leverage to get myself to a skill set from other people but learning.
Right.
Dude, we were platinum, bro. We had the best people in the industry. Rob Reimer, Tim Yesta, freaking Isaac Gates, Tara Artenson, Nate McCarthy, Taylor McCarthy, all these guys. Dude, I was a sponge, and they all liked me because I was funny. And so they would tell me all the stuff that they would do. And I was like, dude, hell yeah. And so Jeremy Pixton, too.
Yeah.
Shout out to Pixton.
Yeah, shout out Platinum, R.I.P.
Yeah,
It's kind of crazy. I think about that all the time, just the way the branches of the Platinum tree have
blown up, dude. Chance is running Vivint Solar. Keith Dyer's with or not Vivint Solar, Sunrun now.
Yeah.
Sunrun. Who else do we got? Yeah, they all did something good.
Yeah. No,
Well,
and that's what, man, I almost feel like, and maybe it's just, it was crazy to plug into an organization at that time that was just like hyper competitive, super successful. But one thing as I look back on that is that like there were some people that like shot into there, shot to the top, and then like flamed out. Mm-hmm. But I think there is something to be said for guys like yourself and even myself. Like my first year I did like 70 accounts. And the next year I did 170. Mm-hmm. And it was like there's something about building a foundation of not, almost like the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Yeah. It's like these comets, go up and they flare out. But like actually having to learn and figure it out the hard way, it sets this foundation. And I feel like that's kind of what we preach here with guys is like, hey, yes, money is like why we're all doing this, but there's so much more value you can gain from this, because I know myself, like no matter what happens to solar or anything, like if I had to go sell real estate, if I had to go do anything, I have a skill set going door to door and talking to people that cannot be duplicated or I think learned in any other fashion other than actually getting out there and knocking on strangers' door. Because you think about it, I mean, you deal with people all the time, like most people's number one fear is public speaking. Yep. And doing it door to door every single day, you're public speaking hundreds of times a day to a complete stranger in a random neighborhood that they don't even want you there. Yep. And so that's like, I think the value that as you look back long term, like, in the short term, you want to make a solar cell and you want to become financially independent. But I think you look 10, 20, 30 years down the road, the skills you build and the person that you have to become to be successful at it will by far outweigh the money that you made. Yeah.
And it's funny that you bring that. It's like, bring that up. There was, I think it was Deion Sanders who said, people chase the money and not the game. But you got to realize if you chase the game has the money.
Right.
So, by playing the game, which the game is get good, get your skill set up.
Sure.
Then you get the money.
Yeah.
So it's like people want the money, then they're going to go get good. And that's the problem. They're going to fail. And this what's happening with solar right now is a lot of people came in for the money. They didn't care about the game.
Right.
And that's when fraud and deception and criminal activity takes place.
Yeah.
So it's like for me, if you're watching this right now, it's like how can you get more involved in the game of solar?
Right.
And how could you get more involved in the game of business? Business is a game.
Yeah.
And it's like our bodies will give out, but business you can run for 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
Right.
And it could be so much better for you if you learn how to compete and go after being one of the top guys. It's fun. It's what makes life exciting.
Yeah.
It's not about how much money you make. Like, dude, you're going to die and you can't take that with you.
Sure.
So it's like, dude, what do you got?
Yeah. No, and I think the last couple of years, especially in solar, has been a reality check, because I remember 2-3 years ago, like, all the roofers were selling solar and all the alarm guys were selling solar and like everybody was selling solar, and now it's like they've all left. And
too hard.
It's almost like it's that Jim Rohn quote where like, don't wish it was easier, just wish you were better.
Yeah.
And I think that's really just the reality check of where we're at now is like, yeah, like you said, chase the game, get better. And I know that's your expertise, and that's kind of where I want to shift here for a minute is like, what are some things that somebody's out there watching, right? And I think some of our reps too often say, okay, I went through our initial training. I'm knocking the hours. I got the pitch memorized, but I'm not seeing success. Like, what do you feel are a couple differentiators from somebody that's just sort of plugged in doing the basics, but they think they're doing, like, I'm trying, I'm really doing it. You know, what is it that you feel like could kind of take somebody to the next level that goes from, hey, I'm doing the basics, I'm just trying, I'm going out there every single day, but it kind of stops there? Or is there any advice or things that you would give somebody to say, do these things, maybe it's in the off hours or whatever, to kind of take your game to the next level?
People spend money on what they value. And so I found that if somebody's saying they want to get better, tell them to pull up their credit card statement and look at what they're spending their money on. And that'll tell you everything you need to know about what they value.
Interesting.
And so right there, I'd be like, dude, I don't care what you're saying. Show me where your money, show me the money.
Right.
And so you follow the money, then you follow what they value. Are they buying weed? Are they buying alcohol? Are they buying expensive dinners? That's what they value. They value, with the expensive dinners, going out and partying, clubbing, they're valuing status.
Right.
And so then, as a manager, you can see what they value. You then need to do a better job of validating their status quo to make them feel like they need to be a more important person in the office. So having more competitions, having the sales rep of the month, those type of things. So based on their spending habits, you can tell what they value, and then you can leverage how to motivate them based on what they value. And you don't need to try to guess it. You just look at the money. And so then you say, look, if you're really trying to get better, let's sit down. Okay, cool. How much money you've got? I got $100. What kind of credit cards you got? You got 3,000. Okay. Right. If you want to get better, spend $3,000 on a coaching program.
Right.
Spend it.
Right.
Okay, how bad do you want to get better? How much is one solar deal? Cool, but you're afraid to spend $3,000 on a coaching program? So that's the biggest thing.
Right.
That's literally how you freaking tell the guy. Okay, or go buy a hotel in the middle of nowhere and blitz.
Right.
And stay there for a full week. That's how committed you are. That's what I did when I first started learning solar. I went up to the middle of nowhere, got an Airbnb for 2 weeks, and I just went out and figured it out. That was it. I spent my own money because I was bought in. Because the thing is you just gave them a bunch of stuff you paid for, but they didn't pay for it. Sure. So they don't pay attention. And so that's why it's like there's one point that you can give them stuff, but they need to go take the baton and keep going with it and spend more money on it. I spent so much money on training before I got into becoming like a trainer and all of that. Like I spent probably a couple $100,000, mastermind programs, events, seminars, Brian Tracy, Tony Robbins, everything. I've spent it. And so that's why it's like, dude, I have a skill set that's insane because of how much time and effort I put in doing it.
Yeah.
I'd go to an event, I'd learn 2 or 3 things and go on the doors and try it. Or I'd go in the office and try it. So leadership stuff, boom, I'd go learn a leadership technique, try it in the office. So every year I got better, and I'd spend, good amount of money on that stuff. So I'd spend 10 to 20 grand a year on stuff. Over 10 years, you're spending $500,000.
Right.
So that's the thing is if you're new at this and you want to expend it, go get a hotel, go on a blitz, pay for it yourself. Tell all your friends to come out, front all of it.
Yeah.
Because they're so, the company fronts it all. No, dude, you want to really get better, you front it all.
Right.
And that's how we can see if you're committed.
No, that's awesome. And I think about my life as I've grown as a person, I think definitely over the last decade, like I look at, like I have a life business coach I work with every single week, that I've paid for 7 years. Like I have a personal trainer. I'm currently working with a dietitian because I'm like, hey, I'm trying to do it my own way, but like what I know is kind of limited, and I know like my routine and what I like, but I need outside information because that to me is like the age that we live in that's so awesome is there's so much information that's available, but oftentimes it's really hard to decipher from people like yourself who is actually a professional at it that knows exactly what they're doing, that if you just follow these things, like guaranteed a $3,000 investment with you, somebody's going to 10, 20, 50x that thing versus, like some posers on the internet that just say this or that have never really done that, but they're like the coach and the guru.
That's the hard part about this line of work that I'm in is there's the flashy guys on the internet, dude. There was a guy that came into the space like a bat out of hell and signed up everybody, and then everybody canceled him, and now he's not even active at all in solar.
No, I'm just joking.
I won't mention names, but dude, he lives around here.
Yeah. 10-4.
And that's the sad part, dude. It's like that stuff doesn't work. And it's like, there's real stuff that's field tested, and you have to find the guys who are solid that can do it. And so it's overall, it's not about what you're buying, like the courses and stuff. It's the real training with investing into yourself is you spend money on something you don't get a tangible item on that is goes into your subconscious mind. It sees that you're spending money on making yourself better. That is the biggest lesson you learn from spending it. Whether you buy the course, watch the course or not, that's half the battle. The most important one is you spend money on something to make you better. And that is so hard in a concept because so many reps have such low self-esteem, they don't feel it's worth spending money on them because they're just chattel or they're just a door-to-door salesman piece of crap that's not worth anything. So that's why the real lesson is you spending money and figuring out how to make it back.
Yeah.
Like one day I was at a program, they're like, it's $100,000. I didn't have it. They're like, cool, spend it and fucking figure it out. Just try it. I did. And then I figured it out. And it worked out. And then the skill set I got by pushing myself during that time frame, 10x'd. And it was like one of the craziest experiences I ever had. And the line that stuck with me is money is money is not a barrier. It's like a self-limiting barrier.
Gotcha.
Because, dude, America, no one has money. Everyone's got credit cards. So just fucking spend on a credit card, get the skill set, and then go earn it. Because you're going to be in this cycle. Well, I need money to buy this. Well, go put it on a credit card and do it. And so without it trying to be like a big sales pitch for my stuff, that's the thing that people really need to see is they take the game seriously.
Yeah.
Start really getting after it. Get the uniform, get after it, start getting a trainer, getting your health. Because the steps of getting better is start with yourself, get your body in shape. Second is get your relationship in check with your family. If you have a wife, getting that dialed in, then getting better at your job. Because if you're fat and out of shape, your wife is falling apart, it doesn't matter how good you get at your work, it's all going to collapse.
Yeah.
So you start off at those levels and you work up. Then you work on your team. Then you focus on your industry. Then you work on the fucking planet. Right. And then you go to the animals. And then all of these things is like these different dynamics as you scale up. Like those are the things that people need to focus on. And that's the first thing you can do, get in shape.
Yeah.
Start taking care of your body. Second, get your relationships in check. Third, then get back after the sales game.
Yeah.
So that's the steps that are super important. I've been really focusing on getting the body because I neglected it a lot and that ruined my self-esteem.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing I've been really focusing on.
Yeah, that's what I love, just as even on the way over here, I'm like, dude, what's the latest biohack? Methylene blue, eye drops, gonna give me some. Yeah. But yeah, that's the crazy thing is like everything is connected. And I feel like at the end of the day, probably to sum up what you're talking about, I really feel like the best investment you can make is in yourself. Mm-hmm. I've been to 10X Growth Con, like similar to you. I mean, I've read like over 200 books. I've been to all these seminars like Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone. And I remember I was sitting at a 10X Growth Con probably about right before I started the podcast the first time around. And dude, there was like Andy Frisella, Brad Lee, Grant Cardone, and there was this other guy.
That was a good lineup.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. And there was this guy there that he was one of I forget his name, but we'll find it. But basically, he's one of the founders of Microsoft, not Bill Gates. And I remember I'm sitting in the chair in Las Vegas, and this guy is talking about how they're going to cure cancer through the gut biomes. He's like an Indian guy. Naveed, yep.
Biome.
Yep.
I take it every day.
Do you? Awesome. Is it good?
They have vitamins based on your gut.
Oh.
And so I took the test. I've eliminated all the foods that he suggested based on my DNA and my gut I should not eat, like cantaloupe and peppers.
Okay.
And then basically he prescribes vitamins based on your like DNA makeup, that you actually need.
Okay.
So a lot of vitamins your body can't even digest it because of your DNA.
Huh.
So you're eating stuff that your body can't even take.
Shout out Viome.
Yeah, it's that one's one of the things I talk about a lot.
Really?
Viome, yeah.
I'll have to check that out because I remember I was sitting there and he's talking about that, and then he was talking about like this company that was going to commercially take people to the moon, and I don't know that it's done that, but and then the
rocket shot.
Yeah, and the thought that came to me was, I'm like, dude, this guy's looking to cure cancer and looking to take people to the moon, and I'm sitting in my car deciding if I should go out and knock on the door too, and I'm like, bro, like what the fuck? Beep, what are we doing with our lives, and it's really that simple. And it kind of just hit me. It's like, dude, I'm out here looking for all these answers outside of me, and I think there's great resources, but like at the end of the day, like you just said, you have to start with yourself, and you have to start building confidence with yourself. And I think for me, on my journey of door to door and just development, one of the bigger lessons I've learned is like the best way to build self-confidence is to make and keep promises to yourself.
That's the foundation.
Even if it's just like, hey, I'm going to the gym today, right? Like you don't have to go say I'm going to run a marathon. Just show up, right? And that builds confidence because we've all been there. Like, I'm going to get up at 4 a.m. and I'm going to do an hour cold plunge and I'm going to do an hour in the sauna, like this crazy morning routine, and like not attainable, not something that you can start from 0 to 100. No. And then the quickest way to demoralize yourself and lose self-confidence is to make and break promises to yourself.
Yep.
And it's really that simple. And so I feel like, you know, if you're looking at this and you're like, hey, I feel like deep down I have this potential, where's a good starting point? You know, everything that Danny just outlined is where it starts. And it's just so crazy what it will expand the more and more and the deeper that you get. And I think for me, you know, one of the big reasons I was so excited to have you on is we chatted 7-8 years ago. And at that time, you know, we were both at different places. Mm-hmm. You were still selling alarm systems. You were going out for a summer. You were coming from California to, I think, maybe Texas at that point, in the Prius.
All blur.
In the Prius, you know, popped in and we had the line and all that shit.
That was great.
Yeah. And so and now, you know, we're both at different places. But, I mean, I guess for you, like, from, you know, there's also another section of people, and I get this from time to time, and I've had a few podcasts of people talking about it, is there's a couple types of people that get into door-to-door. There's those that obviously come and try it and they don't end up being successful, so they find something else. And then you have the other tier of guys that come in and they actually become successful. Mm-hmm. But what I found is after a few years of being successful, they kind of look around and be like, okay, now what? Like I've made the money, I've broke the records, I've done this, I've done that, but I feel the exact same. And I guess for you, from your transition from, you know, just being a door-to-door salesman to like helping build and scale companies to what you're doing now, like, were there any kind of defining moments or times that kind of took you to that journey? And I'd just like to hear a little bit more about, like, from being in it, you know, maybe you had those same feelings, I don't know, to now doing what you feel like is your life calling.
Yeah, I mean, I there was a big shift in the space where, like, the guys who helped build Door, Jeff Mendez, Casey Baugh, Bodie Gardner, Jared Young, the Browns brothers, Cody Vabel, like, they shifted out of the position of leadership, and it allowed a lot of people to step up. And I look at this community as my home, and with the elders leaving, the next generation had to come up.
Right.
So I look at myself as an elder now in our community, passing on the stories and the lessons that I've learned to the next generation.
Sure.
And the thing that I'm most proud about is, although I have a lot of great lessons, I've ushered in a lot of really good individuals and watched them grow into leaders of their own companies. And that's the best thing that I think I've ever done. It's not my own personal accolades and all the shit that I've done. Like, it's about what I've helped people curate in their own world. And it's like, I thought I always wanted the spotlight about me, but what I love about my platform is I get to highlight so many talented people, and with my competitions that I lead every single year, that basically they get to go make a name for themselves, and then they go out and they pass the baton on to their people. So that's all it is, dude, because at the end of the day, it's not about how much money you make, it's about what type of impact you had in your community. And I'm not good enough to go outside of this yet, maybe one day, but this community right now really needs a lot of help. And I think a lot of these people that come into door-to-door come from broken families. A lot of divorced people do this job, and they have to become somebody that they're not. And by my company called Authentic, I want to show them that they could do things and be successful their own way.
Right.
And why I was such a character and why I was always so crazy is because at Vivint, they programmed you to be a freaking cookie cutter.
Return Mormon missionary. Machine.
Exactly. They formed you to be a machine. And so for me, I wanted to beat them at their own game. And I honestly think I did. I think I did it where I was me. I played my game. I had a lot of haters along the way. A lot of people said I was retarded, but I outsold all of them. Right. And it's like, dude, I played the game my way, and I hope to be a message for people that if they want to do things their own way and express themselves in a certain way, they should. Because I was born to be a performer. I wasn't born to be a door-to-door salesman.
Right.
I used door-to-door to help become a performer. And so for the people watching this and listening, find out what your life calling is, and then figure out how you can use this job to get you there.
Yeah.
I feel like I have done that to such a T. It didn't look like exactly how I wanted it to be. I thought I would be doing like the open mics and stuff like that. But now I'm opening for Tony Robbins in 2 weeks with thousands of people at the biggest solar conference in the country.
Right.
Like literally, it's like how funny this works. And it's like so many people want to get there, but you've got to start with the street lights and you got to work your way up. And I use this job to get me to where I'm at now. And so many people miss that. Yeah. It's like, you're not doing this to be a door-to-door salesman. You're not doing this to be a sales professional. You're doing it to be a good dad. How are you going to be a good dad? Make all of their freaking games. What good's $1 million if you can't watch your kids' games?
Sure. Use
this job to be able to set yourself up so when you're 40, you can watch your kids' games and you don't have to work. Like, bro, that's what it's all about. And I think that's what guys are missing is this job, if utilized correctly, could get you in a position where you can actually spend more time on what matters than just the stupid money and shit like that. Who fucking cares? Like, that's why you never see me flex about any of that. I never talk about my cars, my money. I've never made one post about it because I don't care, because I'm playing the game and I realize what the game is. And it's about doing what fulfills you the most. And all that other stuff is just distractions, because nothing's going to make you feel better than being able to set your future up and be able to win with your friends. That's why I don't like bouncing around and doing all that. I never left my companies. Win with your friends, because life's going to be over like that. Yeah. Bro, we were just talking about it, dude. It's like fucking almost 10 years ago since we're doing a podcast. It's like, stick with your friends and make it work. Because at the end of the day, you're going to look back and, you know, all these companies you bounced around with and all these different sign-on, like, none of that shit matters, bro. Like, dude, those guys we used to laugh at people who bounced around and took bonuses. Like, you're a freaking loser. Like, you couldn't figure it out. Right. So it's like, dude, that's the thing, man. Use this game as a tool to get to the next level. And if you can look at it like that and realize you're going to get your butt kicked a little bit, it's all pays out if you stick with it long enough. And I hope to be living proof of that if you stick with it and you stick and stay, the shit'll pay. Yeah, no, that's a stick and stay, the shit'll pay. No, and I think if there's one thing that I could kind of like use osmosis and put into like new people getting into the industry, you know, because solar right now, it's like, they call it the solar coaster. It's always been that, like, somebody will go out, bust out 10 cells in a month, make X amount of money, and then they don't work for 2 or 3 months. Yeah. But imagine, you know, versus other guys that are very successful, they have what you had, that long-term view. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, that's the one thing that it's like, man, if you would actually treat this as the vehicle that it is and can be, it will be that. Mm-hmm. Or if you treat it like it is or could be, that if you don't, that's exactly what it's going to be. Yep. And it's I don't know if it's an old Brian Tracy or maybe it's Doug Hopkins, where it's like it's the highest paid hard work and the lowest paid easy work, you know, being in door-to-door sales, to where if you go out and treat it like a full-time career, you're going to do this for a decade minimum and it's going to be your career. Those types of guys typically fare way better than those like, oh, I'm going to dip my toe in this and then, oh yeah, I just made 50 grand in a month and ooh, now I can take a breather. Yeah. And you know, you're always playing this catch-up game instead of using it to get you to the next level. Yeah. I guess, you know, as far as you go, I think this is probably a question that I'm sure you've thought about, but if not, here we go. We'll lay it on you, the Improv King. When you look back, dude, because, you know, right now you're 35. Mm-hmm. You've been door-to-door for half your life. What do you want your legacy to be? I should have switched from being a top rep into building a team sooner. Okay. I didn't spend enough time leading teams to really dial in that skill set that I did at sales. Sure. It's kind of like, I look back at it now as like I was like the college kid going to high school parties. Gotcha. Like I did 300 for 10 years in a row. Right. Like I don't think there's maybe 2 or 3 guys like Ellsworth and freaking Tyler that have done that, but there's not many that have. Right. And so I used to be proud of that, but I realized, dude, like that's a cool accomplishment, but I should have focused and transitioned on becoming a leader, and that would have been able to grow it. Because, I mean, think about the legacy the guys that started Platinum had, where all of those guys have went. Like Todd Peterson is another perfect example of it. Like, bro, that's sick what he's created. Yeah, it's just, dude, we all came from Todd. Right. Like Platinum came from Todd. Everything's spawned from Todd. Yeah. So, you know, that's the thing is I wish I would have transitioned to leadership sooner. You should spend 5 years really mastering sales and then really learn the skill of recruiting and leading. Because the way we change the world is we develop leadership skills. Right. And we're seeing a planet deprived of good, strong leadership because so many people now are take for themselves and they don't give a shit about anyone else.
Right.
And so when that weakness happens, it creates divides. And we're seeing that a lot in the media right now on there's just these two sides.
Right.
The better and the more powerful leaders we have, we can get America back up to where we're already at the like one of the top countries in the planet, I believe. I believe we're strongly number one, but we need more people stepping up because the good leaders we had that got built through World War II, through the Vietnam War, they're retiring and they're passing on the baton. And now we got a bunch of freaking idiots separated because of media.
Right.
So the key to making America truly great again is we have to increase our leadership skills. And if we don't, the wrong type of leaders are going to step in and take it from us. And so it's up to us, the small business owners, the entrepreneurs, to step up and start learning how to lead, running teams. Because if you can't learn how to run a team, you can't learn how to run a division, a region, or a company, how are you going to learn how to run a country? And then everyone's like, well, not my job. And everyone just doesn't take responsibility for it. And all of a sudden we fall from the graces of where we're at. So the country needs more leaders. And so we should really, I think nothing can help you become a better leader faster than door-to-door sales and convincing people to go do door-to-door.
Right.
Dude, when you don't have a salary, you learn real quick on how good of a leader you are.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. And undefeated in world wars, by the way, America.
Back to back.
Back to back. And it kind of reminded me of that saying, I might butcher it, but it says that like tough times create tough people.
Yeah.
Tough people create easy times. Easy times create weak people.
Yep.
Weak people create tough times.
Yep.
And I honestly think that as we're kind of going through this interesting cycle, we need more people like you, like us, and some of those people coming up from the forefront to like really step up and start leading.
Yep.
And that's the thing, because it doesn't matter where you're at in life. Like you might be a father, you might be a son, you might be a friend. Like we're all leaders in our own circles, believe it or not. Everybody has an impact. Maybe some are smaller than others, but like it's never too early and too soon to be the leader maybe you wish you had or that you could be because people around you are watching. Yeah. And, I think that's kind of the interesting thing with that I've thought over the years of owning a business is like, dude, there's so many currencies out there. Like, you got Bitcoin, you got Dogecoin, you got all these other things and kind of flashy things. But I think the best currency and investment is people. We've kind of built a foundation. I think this is what we've been really good at is we started the company on a couple premises. One is you take care of your people. Yep. If you take care of them, you treat them well, you teach them right, you have good culture, naturally they're going to treat your customers better. Yeah. And then you take care of your customers, you get more referrals, and it's this cyclical effect. Like, dude, we're sitting there at Top Golf today. I had two guys come up to me just randomly, and we're talking. They've both been in door-to-door for several years, and they've said at every single company they've been at, they've not gotten paid. Yeah. And then they're like, well, why did you start your company? I'm like, bro, because I had the exact same experience, and I said we were going to be the change. There's not one person that's come through this door, even if they've left and broken their agreements, we've always paid them. Yeah. And it's like those little things will stand the test of time. Yeah. It might not be the flashiest thing, it might not be the most hyped thing, but those solid fundamentals of treating people well, giving them a good place to grow, having a good customer relation, taking care of your customers, that's what's going to last long term. Yep. And I think, as we look back, like even as a business owner, like our favorite times have been when our people have succeeded. Having a 19-year-old guy buy his first home. Yeah, exactly. Having Seth, multiple Golden Door winner, he owns several homes. He's 26. Like,
and he hunts.
Yeah, and he hunts. Yeah, went to Africa hunting. And just seeing even people in our office, like everybody's in a different place, but it's like, and then the worst times we've ever had is like employees stealing from us. Like we've had employees break in, their old office and stuff, and it's just like good criminy, man. But at the end of the day, the effect I think we can have on people, and I think that's cool about your position is like, right now it's just the door-to-door community, which I think needs you and always will. But like you don't know all those seeds that you planted. And think about, not to go all the way back to the Wendy's, but like there's a chance that, dude, you quit at that Wendy's. Yeah. None of this has ever happened.
Yeah. And think about that too, is like anyone watching this right now is there's going to be a point where your back's against the wall and you got to think of all of the people that are going to suffer because you didn't sack up and make the decision to follow through on what you committed to. Right. It's like,
sack up.
Sack up, man. I mean, sometimes there's a time to feel into your emotions and like, oh, this doesn't sit with me. But when it's this job, those fears are not true. and they're lying to you.
Right.
And you have to realize the difference of not being aligned versus false evidence appearing real. Fear.
Yeah, fear.
And so that's the thing is no one's aligned with this job. Sitting in and feeling if door to door is good for you, that's not true. That's not a true reaction. These are the things you grit out and figure out how to do it, because at the end of the day, more people will benefit from what we're doing than harm. Right. No one gets harmed by door-to-door sales. Is it inconvenient? Yeah, it's like a fly going around. Someone gets bugged a little bit, but we do more good than we do bad. And so that's why it's like you have to figure out how to deal with this negative connotation of your mind of what we're doing, because we do provide a good service. Yeah. We provide it the right way. And if you don't feel good about it, then you've learned from somebody who's selling unethically, and you're with the wrong group, and get with somebody who is ethical and that does things the right way.
Yeah.
And it's like people feel like they're not doing it the right way. It's because they've learned something that doesn't align with their ethics. So figure out if that's what you're dealing with, get out of that organization, because unethical organization is like a fishbowl with poison in it. It starts with a little drop and it seeps to everything and kills the entire organization. Yeah. And a good leader can spot that and remove it before it kills the whole company.
Yeah, and I think what is cool about how you operate is like literally from the beginning of time that I've known you, like you've always done it the right way. Mm-hmm. And I think that's in this weird chase even with solar we've noticed over the last couple of years is like it's a little harder. Mm-hmm. And you have to work a little bit harder for the same amount of money. And so guys start cutting corners. Mm-hmm. And even in your space, we had a conversation about some people that are like, holy cow. But doing the business the right way, treating people the right way, kind of like you said, you're building a platform on it, like that's going to stand the test of time. Mm-hmm. You can still be successful and do things the right way. And ultimately, long term, that's the only way to do it, because that's what's going to last.
Yeah, man. And you got to remember, dude, this is your impact on life, man. And you got to look back. And when you're sitting on that rocking chair and it's your last day on this earth, what did you do? And it's like, did you do a bunch of shit that sacrificed your ethics, or did you do it the right way and build something that you can be proud of? And that alone, they talk about freedom in this country. And real freedom is sleeping at night knowing you did everything correctly. Because the worst thing you could do is be in a free country and you commit unethical activities to generate income. That alone will haunt you every single day because of the unethical activities that you've done. That's not freedom. You can live in a country that's free. You can say what you want, but the evil deeds of what you've done will germinate within you for the rest of your life. Yeah. And that's why it's not worth it. I've done it before, and I've talked about it before multiple times on stage. The one time I did it, I had a taste of it. I said, I'm never doing that again. Yeah. And so, it's good learning lesson. So, unfortunately, a lot of the guys don't listen to that message, and people who do unethical things aren't going to learn this way. But guess what? The FBI is coming after people. Yep. The states are coming after people. People are getting prosecuted, and there's a lot of jail time coming for some crooks that are ruining it for good guys like us that are trying to do it the right way.
Yeah, no, and I think at the end of the day, the cream always rises to the top. And
Macho Man Randy Savage said that once.
Ooh, yeah, brother. Did I do okay? A little improv.
I thought that was great. That was the Macho Man.
Walking through the door.
He's back to life.
Yeah, shout out Macho Man, R.I.P. boy. Mm-hmm. But no, and once again, like I said, appreciate you coming on. I think on a note like that, pretty maybe good one to end on. I feel like we could talk for hours. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, working with Danny, knowing Danny for such a long time, that this is the guy you want to learn from. 100% the best in the game, the most consistent, and I think the most authentic. And that really embodies who he is. So if you're looking to take your life, your business, your company, your sales game to the next level, check out Authentic. How can they find you?
Instagram at DannyPessy.com. And if you're a sales rep watching this, get into that competition, Lord of the Doors. We're going to teach you ethical sales practices. We're going to have you compete against other people, and let's have some fun. Because once you get over the nervousness and like the scarcity of knocking, this is a game and it's fun. And it's fun when you win with other players. So that's what we've created, is a platform that's going to happen July and August, and it's going to go for 2 months, 8 weeks, and we're going to bring in a different trainer who's going to train on a different subject for 8 weeks in a row, with our goal of the 3 C's: competition, content, and community. And those 3 things are my formula that I found that help reps transition from being a lower tier rep to a higher tier rep. It's the 3 C's. And so if you're watching this and you want to get a little more out of it and you want to make 2025 a special year, hit me up. Join the competition. It'll be a lot of fun.
Well, you heard it here first from the Gandalf of the door-to-door industry, the man, the myth, the one and only Pessy. Love you, big dog.
Much.
Thanks for coming on. Feel free to like, subscribe this. Keep tuning in, guys. Love the feedback. Talk to you soon.